My dad has been my best friend my entire life. That man laughed in my face. Then my phone is little Will. This is a kid who lost a bundle of heroin in his house. His mom found it, and when he got home, his mom was overdosed and dead from the heroin that he lost. When you have so much potential in life, when you are loaded with talent and you're motivated and you know that you should just be in a better spot, it's very hard to sit under a roof and just know that you have such an uphill battle to climb. If you were to look at Mike 10 years ago, you would have seen the biggest train wreck. I opened up that pocket and it was a knot of blue hundreds this big. I could have taken that thing and I could have buried it. He said, "There's nobody on planet Earth I hated more than my father." My son sent me a text last night. Just wanted to say, I'm proud of you. You are my superhero. What is up, guys? Michael DeSecco back for another Timeless Talk. I hope everybody has a blessed day, weekend, night, whatever you're doing. I hope you are smiling. I hope you are feeling grateful and humble. You have a roof. We've got food. We've got family. We've got babies. We've got rings. We've got the whole nine going on. I know I am as grateful as ever. And I own a company named Timeless Protection, and we protect vets. My business, my team and I, what we do is we help consumers understand life insurance or insurance products. There's a lot of pitfalls that consumers can go through when it comes to these types of products. Pushy agents, misleading ads, very high rates. And, we want to make sure if we're trying to protect our families that we're doing it the proper way. And that's what my team and I do, guys. So once again, Mike DeSecco, Timeless Talk. If you haven't subscribed yet, give me a like, give me a subscribe, hit the notification, hit the elbow drop. Aaron hit me with a Michael Jordan dunk from the foul line from back in the day. Best poster ever. Last video, I talked about, why we need to share our business opportunity with others. Today, I want to talk about how this all started, when it all started, how long this has taken, how old my kids were when I was at my worst, and I want to talk about my first attempt at rehab. There's a lot of people out there right now that are probably kicking it around that they should go, or someone's probably told them and they shrugged them off. I'm not Amy Winehouse, right? She made that song, try to make me go to rehab or whatever. She said, no, no, no. I guess I was actually the first couple times. And it wasn't because I was super opposed to going. I was just in denial, flat out denial. Nah, I'm good, man. I don't need any of that stuff. I'm good. I'll get it. And I've told you before in a video, when I gave up parental guardianship of my oldest son, I said out loud in court that I was going to have this fixed in 6 months, and my father laughed in my face. My dad has been my best friend my entire life. That man laughed in my face. And he was actually naive about all of this stuff at the point in time. But, my sister had stepped in and told my parents it's time. And I think he learned a little bit. And he laughed right in my face. But denial was the main thing. And I remember I broke down. I was sick and tired of just being sick and tired. I was living in my aunt and uncle's basement, an hour north of anything I would ever, do socially, including my dealer. I had no car. I had, someone to get high with, I guess. It was awful. Thinking back, it was absolute torture. Having nothing. I look at that torture and we harness the hell. We have to harness the hell and we have to make it into good. I remember showing up to Landon's first day of kindergarten at the bus stop. Now, he went to a magnet school around here, some of the bus stops are in shopping center parking lots. I pulled up. I probably hadn't have slept in 5 days, had dirty clothes on. I looked rough. I hadn't showered. I was just on one of those benders. And I remember my son's mom's boyfriend at the time, who I'm close with now and very good friends with, and super grateful that he was there for Landon when I was going through my stuff. This guy looked at me like he wanted to rip my head off, and I'll never forget it. You got to take a lot of these little things that you see and you pick up along the way where how selfish you're being. You know how much of a POS you're being, but you just don't care. Like you really just don't care. You think everything and everyone is just going to be cool with what is going on. You're the last one to figure it all out, right? I don't know exactly how it happened, but I was just like, I'm done. Like something needs to change. I'm so sick of this. The hardest part was for me, and this happened numerous times. My first trip to rehab was not my get clean moment. When you're pondering the thought of going, I'm sitting here thinking, oh my God, if I tell my job, which I didn't have, or if I tell my parents, or if I tell this person or my son's mom that I'm doing this, they're gonna take everything from me. In reality, if you keep acting like you're acting, you're just gonna lose it all anyways. When you have a child and you tell them, if you get drunk at a party, you better call me. In their head, they're like, Dad's gonna rip my head off if I call him. Let me go drive drunk like an idiot. But in reality, we're like, thank God you called, right? It's the same thing. There was relief on people's faces because they knew for 35 days or whatever it was going to be, 45 days, that I was actually safe, that I was actually somewhere without substances. Now, that wasn't necessarily true, and I'll get into that in a second. But, I went to a place where I donate to now, but I went to a place called the Stonington Institute, and I think I did a detox in New Haven. It was my second detox. I went to a prior detox, but I left early. I AMA'd against medical advice or something like that. Was down in New Haven. You meet people along the journey here. Like you pick people up and you become friends with them, and it's really quickly lived where you're not best friends with these people, but you latch on to them. You're on the journey with them. So there was a couple of those guys who I went to detox with, and we ended up in the same program and in the same house. It was just a stretch of nightmares. Now, detoxing sucks. Like detoxing sucks. I already talked about this with withdrawing. Detoxing really, I guess it's a little bit better when you're medically doing it. They do something called the pause test where your withdrawal symptoms need to be at a certain level for them to feed you the meds, because they don't want to put you into precipitated withdrawal, which is the worst half hour of anyone's life, period. I've done it or did it to myself tons of times, and idiot. Who out there has taken a Vivitrol shot too early? No good. You're feeling like crap. You don't want to talk to anybody. You try to sleep, but in detox, every 4 hours, they're taking your vitals. That's why they're there. That's why you're there. They're making sure that you're doing this healthy. If you tried to detox at home, which I obviously have a bunch of times, but if you're coming off of benzos or alcohol, you can die from that withdrawal. It's not just opiates in a detox. There's a lot of people in there with different choices, alcohol being one of them, right? So vitals. Just when you fall asleep, vitals. When you get into a rehab, now I was on state insurance. I should probably start off by saying this was not one of those cushy rehabs like Passages of Malibu or whatever the hell it is, where they feed you lobster and filet mignon and you paint and shoot bow and arrows. Nope. This is a bunch of people crammed into a small facility. You could make a reality show out of a detox center with the nurses and the people that are on and the clients that are in there. You could literally make a reality show. You've always got the tough guy, right? The dude who's like, acts super tough, talks to all the girls, all the girls in there are hit. It's not a place to like act like you're in high school, but that's what happens. I always just kept to myself. I did a lot of writing. When you have so much potential in life, when you are loaded with talent and you're motivated and you know that you should just be in a better spot, it's very hard to sit under a roof and just know that you have such an uphill battle to climb. Going back there now and fast forwarding to today, I can definitely say that I never thought I would be right here. Like I looked at my girl today and I was like, I've never been happier in my entire life than I am right now. And I got a text from a team member who said the same thing. This is scary, people. Like this is very scary to me, because if you were to look at Mike 10 years ago, you would have seen the biggest train wreck. And, everyone has their stories, and a lot of stories were worse than mine. But for me and my life and everything relative to it, no one ever thought that I would be where I ended up. Now, I just look at it like, why is this happening? Is there a bigger purpose for me? Is this happening for a reason? Why is God putting me through the trenches of the dark side of our life, like the underbelly of our world, where you've got just filth, death, drugs? I've said this a million times. We should recreate it for people so that you can experience it for a week, and it'll give you so much perspective on life. It will literally change the way you think. If you go to a detox or a rehab for a state facility, or you just live that life of basements and, sleeping in your car and spending your last 20 on a hit or whatever it is, you will have perspective. I don't care who you are. The emotions of going in there, a little freaked out at first. I don't want to say I was intimidated, but I was probably 160 pounds. I had nothing. I had no money. I had no phone. I had no clothes. I had nothing. Once we left detox, I basically got stuck in a house. There was 5 houses. The buses picked you up in the morning. You went to a program. The buses brought you back afterwards. I was in a house with 30 to 35 felons, drug addicts. Stuff got stolen left and right. You had to watch everything you had. You also had people in the house that were your RAs at a college or something, where, they're making sure that things are all right on shifts, and they also had to give meds. A lot of those people have since overdosed and died, by the way, the people that watched the houses. This is how it all works. If you think that there aren't drugs in rehab, if you think that there aren't drugs in sober houses, you are entirely wrong. I'm not saying every sober house or rehab. I'm sure there's great sober houses and rehabs out there. I wasn't at those places. I got kicked out of my sober house on Christmas Eve. I was walking around New London, Connecticut on Christmas Eve. I had everything I had owned with me. 2 backpacks and a huge suitcase. No one to call, nowhere to go. And Christmas Eve in my family is a holy day. I actually sit and think about what my parents were probably thinking at that point, or my children. What does my son think? Where's Dad on Christmas Eve? Dad got kicked out of a sober house. I had $125 for the weekly payment pending in my bank account, and they weren't okay with that until Monday or Tuesday, and it was a holiday. And people who run sober houses, most of them are just straight scumbag slumlords. There's probably some good ones mixed in, but you're cramming people into rooms. It's gross, and there's so much drug activity in there. The expectations versus reality of rehab, I honestly didn't know what to expect. Like I said, it wasn't some cushy place. The one thing I didn't really understand is we were there to get better, right? It's almost like some people just go there to get food, to sleep, to stay warm. And I understand that, survival of the fittest. But in my mind, if you're trying to go do that, you're trying to better your life. You're trying to make moves, leave those spots open for the people that are trying to do that. That's just my opinion. I met some good people. I met some bad people. I met people who have died. I met people who I ended up running with later, and running would be using. When you go to college and you're around all these like-minded people and you're thinking about the same class, or you're in this group together, you become more knowledgeable about what the subject is. Well, in detox and in rehab, you are in the college of drug addicts and drugs and how to do things. Wow, you can do that with this thing, or you can get high like that, or you can do this and shove that there. And I was introduced to NA, which was the brightest spot of my second stint in detox, first stint in rehab. NA gave me the initial groundwork, and it showed me that you can do this, essentially. NA was a program where you can see people with much worse stories than you but they made it out. And that gives you a lot of hope. And that's obviously what a sponsor and a sponsee is for, right? Making sure you're doing your steps, or you're working your steps and you're writing your steps. That was one of the best things that came out of, going to this program. I didn't really take much out of it. So in the morning we would wake up and you could have jobs at the house. So naturally, I was the cook. I took the cook job. There's some perks to it, whatever. I was the only one with the key to a fridge, which actually wasn't a perk. It was actually awful because 30 plus dudes in a house, one key to the fridge, nightmare. But I had to order food for us for the week. When I tell you, I'm not kidding right here. This is a real number. Per person per week, I had a $4.44 food budget. 30 people, $4.44 a week. Now, mind you, this place is making money hand over fist. Well, any insurance, right? So if you go to Detox and your insurance pays for it, I don't know how much it is. We could look it up. It's probably $5, $6, $8,000. I don't know. So you got all these people paying $1,000 a day, $2,000, and then you're in a program for 45 days at probably $2,000 a day or $1,000 a day, whatever it is. $1,000 a day for the company, $4.44 per person per week for a food budget. A lot of people loved that I did in there. I come from an Italian family. Food is love. We speak with food, the smells, the dinners. And like on Sundays, I would always just wake up early and I would cook a huge tray of sausage, onions, peppers, and I would just let it sit there all day long and slow cook, and I just left bread out. And actually it was weird because most of the time if you left food out, somebody was just gonna come grab it all. Even if it was all bread, like literally someone would come grab it all. But it was weird, on Sundays nobody did that, and the smell throughout the house like made people feel at home again. It gave them some hope, and it was actually pretty crazy how powerful that was, because so many people came and said, like, thank you so much. This is amazing. Like, I don't know what all of these kids are going through. I don't know what brought them there, what their family situation's like, what their work life is like. Something like a very well-cooked, good meal can go such a long way for somebody who has been struggling forever. It's just like the kid who unfortunately is dead now, but he came into our house, right? We were playing spades, and I'll never forget the look on this kid's face. He was so worn down, tired. He needed to shower. His hair was all shaggy. You had everything in the house, by the way. 30 dudes, you had a hairstylist or like a barber, you had your electrician, you had your jack of all trades, you had your idiot who thought he knew everything, you had your very quiet, you had your weird, you had your loud, you had everything in these houses and in these places. We were like, bro, go take a hot shower, come back down, we'll get you a haircut. I will never ever forget the look on this kid's face. He's in my phone, his little Will. This is a kid who lost a bundle of heroin in his house. His mom found it, and when he got home, his mom was overdosed and dead from the heroin that he lost. Like, that shit is gonna make me cry right now. The smile that this kid cracked when he looked at himself in the mirror with a fresh cut. I know that doesn't happen in every house, and I don't know if it's the leader in me. When I got to the house, you're like low man on the totem pole. There's somebody in the house that's been there for weeks, knows the ins and outs, and is good with the person staying at the house, looking over everything. Well, like a week and a half in, that was me, essentially. I would just try to make it all right for these guys. It helped me, because I was struggling. I was freaking scared. I had a nasty, nasty ex-girlfriend on the outside, basically tormenting me in there because I couldn't do anything. And I eventually just was grateful that I just forgot that she existed, and it made my life a whole lot better. We wanted to make these guys feel all right. Life sucked for everybody in there. It's weird too, because you could tell the people that had been there like 10 times. It's like they came in, they knew where to put their stuff. They were like, can I have this room? It was like a freaking bed and breakfast for drug addicts. It was crazy. Except for the breakfast part was generally Eggos, because that's what fit the budget. The structure and everything that went through there, I thought it was going to be much different. I thought it was like we were packed had it in. You couldn't leave any facility. It was like a free-for-all in the middle of New London, Connecticut. It was not what I thought it was, but you were drug tested every day. Now, here's little tricks of the trade when you're in rehab or detox. God, my mom is going to kill me for this episode, guys. My mom is going to kill me. I had clean urine at one point, obviously, and it actually felt really good. Called it liquid gold. Why did I call it liquid gold? Because you could pee into as many Visine bottles as you could and sell them for $20 a piece. So that when the person who didn't have clean urine would go take their drug test and the people stare like pretty close. The Visine bottle was the only thing that gave enough oomph to make it sound like pee. True story, guys. My girl is looking at me right along like I'm a crazy person. So I used to make a ton of money doing that. I would probably make $100 a day selling my pee. I also would take that money and we would go to Walmart once a week. And I would buy sodas, candy, snacks, and I would sell them. I'd sell them at school. I'd sell them at the program. I'd sell them at the house. I've always had the entrepreneur spirit. I've always just wanted to, at the same time, serve. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but a Mountain Dew and a Snickers bar when you're trapped in a rehab is really, really good, guys. It really is. Like, you really take for granted what the outside world has for you. Now, a couple weeks in, the med cocktail that I had been working on with my therapist, you start to piece things together after a little while with your visits, with seeing the doctor, with therapy sessions, meeting certain people. I started to actually feel pretty good. And I tell my kids this all the time. This is where I was at. I would sit in class and I would dream about 2000 Nissan Maxima with my kids in the back seat, just driving around. That's all I dreamt about. That's all I cared about. That's all I thought about. I just want my boys with me and I want to be clean. It took some years, obviously, but we got there. And not only did we get there, but we're going to be thriving there. My son sent me a text last night. I'll read it. My son said, "Don't get mad at me, Cam, for reading this. Just wanted to say I'm proud of you, everything you've done, everything you've went through, all you've built, business and family. You are my superhero. You are the strongest person I have ever seen. I'm so proud to call you my dad. Love you, dude." Did anyone watch the episode with him and I where he said, "There's nobody on planet Earth I hated more than my father"? We take it all for granted. We take it all for granted. And if you don't hug and love your kids, I don't want to say you don't deserve to get better because everybody does, but kids are like the number one thing, I think, number one motivational piece here for getting clean. It's children. Some people overlook the fact that you have to do it for yourself. If you do it for yourself first, you're still doing it for the children, right? So it's not just for the children. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it for them. No, you want to do it. I need to do it, which in turn, I'm doing it for them. My time in that program, I met a couple kids that one I still talk to every now and then. Great guy. Lost his way years after, we were in the clear. But the program is very hard to beat, guys. In New London, where I was at, and in our programs, we would go to NA on whatever meetings we could get to. That's what we were allowed to walk to. People chair these meetings. People sit and they run them and they do the speaking or they read or they just run the meeting, right? I think in 3 or 4 of those meetings, the chairperson had overdosed and died while doing NA. Think about that for 2 seconds. Think about that for 2 seconds. The person running a meeting overdoses and dies and is selling drugs out of the meeting. I'm all for being an entrepreneur, but if you're using NA to attract your client and then to sell to them, you're a piece of living. You still deserve the chance to get better. I can tell you that much. People go to those places to try to get clean, man. They're dying inside, dead, and you got people selling them drugs. It's a dark world, people. It's a nasty place out there. I'm blessed to be able to sit here and share this with everybody. I know some of the stuff I say probably sounds nuts. I don't work off of a teleprompter. I don't work off of a script. I tell you this stuff straight from my heart. and from experience. And I think that that's the way to do this, because your life isn't scripted. Your life is not from a teleprompter. Your life is your life, and life is hard sometimes. And if life isn't hard for you, God bless you. But what happens when it does become hard for you? See, people who have gone through the mud and have made it out on the other side can probably handle adversity or harness the hell that they're going through. And I think that we just need to make more people aware of this. Drug addicts are not bad people. I've seen police officers, teachers, lawyers, politicians, waiters, waitresses, bartenders, barbers. One of the biggest barbers in the world, Jay Majors, travels the world talking about being an entrepreneur and his addiction. Amazing human being, major league barbershops. I think I got that right. If I didn't, it's something close to that. But this dude is a baller. But if I were to call him or text him and say, Jay, what made you do it? He would probably say, I just knew that I had a bigger purpose. Just because your life sucked or sucks at the point in time doesn't mean you don't have a bigger purpose. Doesn't mean that you won't catch a break. It doesn't mean that things can't change for you. It doesn't mean that you can't bust your ass and go get a degree, or you could start at my job for basically no money. You would need a laptop, so we would have to get it out of the pawn shop or whatever. You know, we try to get you guys off the ground before you pay $1. And I'm telling you, if you come in and you get us to the right spot in the call and I can take care of the rest, we're splitting $1,000 or $2,000 once a day or a couple times a week, whatever that looks like. That stuff adds up quick. The one thing you want to make sure of, though, is you're far enough out of your addiction to where when you catch money, you're not going to die. I'll tell you this story and then we'll cut it here. So I worked at Lake of Isles Golf Course in Ledyard, Connecticut. It's Foxwoods, Connecticut's golf course. My son actually works there now. Unbelievable property, unbelievable golf course, celebrities, you know, the whole nine. Well, it was a cold day, end of the season. There was a cart that was over by the first putting green that was just abandoned. My buddy brought me up on another cart. I hopped off, jumped in the abandoned one, drove it back, and there was a vest in the little basket behind me. So I grabbed the vest, picked it up. It was heavy. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And I felt the pocket, and it was like a pretty big feeling. It was like a baseball almost, or a little bit bigger. Dude, I opened up that pocket, and it was a knot of blue hundreds this big. Now, no cameras, middle of nowhere. I could have taken that thing and I could have buried it. I could have taken it, just tossed it in the car. I could have done a million things and no one would have known. The dude would have lost his mind and I would have had to really play some, I don't know where it is. I no clue, man. I have no idea. Who brought the cart down? Mike. Well, nothing was in the vest, man. I have no idea. I didn't see a vest. So I turned it in. And when I told that story, I had to go right to a meeting. Like legit, I had to go to a meeting. I was shaking. Like 25 grand at that point in my life would have been a game changer. But would it have been a game changer? Would the game have ended? I wasn't ready. There's no way I was ready. No shot. I'd have been dead 100 times over. 100 times over. I don't know what made me do it. I don't know out of how many people would do that, but I knew that if I did that, I would die. Or if I took it, I would die. I also thought to myself, like, what if this guy woke up this morning and caught his wife cheating on him, and he went to the bank and emptied out their bank account so she couldn't do it, and then decided to go play a round of golf. Probably pretty far-fetched, but moral of that story is like, I don't know what was going on in that man's life. This dude broke us off $200, which I didn't even care. If that were me, I would have thrown us like 1,000, but that's just me. I would have died, guys. I would have died. So like that was after my program, and it was after another detox. Every time you go to these things, you pick something up. Change the people, places, things. Get rid of your phone. Get rid of your phone numbers. Addicts are crafty, man. We're just going to jump on the good old call log on Verizon or whatever it is and go search for the number anyways. But, you know, it took a long time, just like anything in life. If you're going to get really good at it, you've got to be patient and you've got to make strides, but you have to work at it. Again, this is why entrepreneurs who are former drug addicts or are drug addicts in recovery, not active addicts, they're good. They make good entrepreneurs. Like, I will hustle 24/7 to give that girl in front of me right now the most amazing life ever. to give our daughter the most amazing life. Baby Sage update. She got spoiled as hell today in TJ Maxx. Dent in the bank account, but it was the greatest day ever. It felt so good. My girl caught me shopping in the little baby section. There's a big old smile on her face when she saw me. Yeah, I'm looking, man. I'm trying to hook her up, trying to make sure she's good. I'm gonna love that little girl. I appreciate you guys letting me share this stuff. It actually really, really helps me. If you are a drug addict out there right now, mental health, anything, guys, and you're struggling, if you're at least up in the Northeast, it's freaking cold and rainy. When I was using, I hated these days, especially if I was scraping to just get off E, which means not be sick. I appreciate you. I love you. Have a blessed night. My information is here. Call me. Text me. Texting is the easiest thing. If you text me, Mike, I need you. I listen to your stuff or whatever. Dude, I'm going to text you. I'm going to text you right away and we'll figure it out. Anyone wants to jump on here, tell me some stories, go back and forth, chop it up about, some addiction stuff. I wanted to start a podcast called The Addict's Attic, and I wanted to go into an attic, where I would stay when I was getting high and do a pod. I think that'd be sick. One day, baby, goals. But again, I appreciate it. And if you're struggling or if you're pondering the thought of going, just go. Start the process, start to learn, and try to come out on the other side. Guys, have a good night. God bless.